a strike action being backed upon by workers in Oyo State. That's our focus this morning, as we're joined by Comrade Bashir Olanrewaju, who is the State Chairman of Nigeria Labour Congress. Thank you for coming on today.
Thank you very much.
How long has this strike been on, by the way?
Just 1 week.
1 week?
Yeah.
Okay, give us a background now. So many versions of the story concerning what is going on there.
Well, sometimes last year, just before the national elections, before the general elections, the national bodies of all the trade unions in Nigeria had an agreement with the federal government, and it was passed into law, the minimum wage law, which tried to bring workers, the least paid worker, to 18,000 naira. And the understanding was that it was going to be across board. So in Oyo State, it was never implemented until around May. When it was implemented in May, the government that implemented it, that signed an agreement with Labour in the state, lost an election. When that government lost an election, the new government that came in said it could not afford to pay it. We had some misunderstandings. Eventually, we agreed that, well, the government was just coming in, and the state belonged to all of us. Let us do something to assist the government. We did. And we collected that salary for only 1 month.
Or half salary?
We collected that salary. The agreement, we implemented it for only 1 month. We signed an agreement with the state government that since we said you could not implement it for only 1 month. The new government, it did that. In July, we entered into another agreement for another 1 month only. For July only, we have all the agreements. And the government said immediately after that agreement was signed and the money was paid, negotiation will commence. Unfortunately, the government did not commence negotiation on time. And by the time negotiation commenced around August, the thing dragged on till about 2 weeks ago. By then, workers had become restless. So about 2 weeks ago, labor leaders in the state signed another agreement with the state government. And at the time of signing that agreement, labor leaders told government that the agreement was being grudgingly signed because somebody that earned about 250,000 naira in May last year will now earn about 80-something thousand naira. We couldn't take it. But government had said that it had some problems and that it could not pay, and that maybe were being used by politicians. Okay. We signed that agreement to create an opportunity for government to know whether we are being used or whether our members really agree with our agreement. So members protested, and without even our approval, they stayed off work. They stayed off work.
Members of the union? All
workers in the state, all public service workers in the state, even without our prompting, they went.
2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago, they went on strike. They decided to stay off work. And that was the beginning of the problem. So we had to go back to government and tell government that we told you before that workers will never accept this. And His Excellency graciously accepted to meet with all workers in the state. He did that, where he explained to them his love for workers, his the impediments on his ways. Workers said no. And once workers have said no, the government said it was going to do something on the table. That same day, government told workers that we will be bringing a new table back to workers. So we are giving a new salary table. When we took that salary table back to workers, we discovered that only 2 or 3 grade levels were affected out of 17 grade levels. And workers said no, they will never take it.
2 or 3 grade levels were affected?
Well, yes.
We're going to be...
No, only 2 or 3 grade levels had something that was different. Something that was different from what we were giving, which workers earlier rejected.
So the 3 levels, I want to believe that they were the 3 bottommost levels.
No. 13, 14, 15. Because in the new table, the previous table that was rejected, when I was rejected 2 weeks ago, they were actually earning less than they were earning before. And you know, how can you give somebody a salary increase and others should be earning less?
Let me come in here because you talked about the allegations that you people are being used by some politicians. But if you look at the state, or your state specifically, that increment came when the last governor was on his way to the elections. And some were saying that he saw the handwriting on the wall that he wasn't going to win that particular election and how to do that to make things very difficult for this particular administration. And to address that, look at this here. We say that the governor has moved Oyo State, that is the present governor, Governor Ajimobi, has moved Oyo State workers from the least paid in the southwest to a much higher level. He approved the training of workers, and now he has offered to pay staff on grade level 01 who used to earn 10,000 naira, correct us if we're wrong here, 10,876 naira to about 19,987, and the highest paid staff on grade level 17 who earned 72,000 naira now earns 139,000 naira. Isn't that reasonable for you?
There are two issues you've raised. Two issues. The first one has to do with whether it was right for the outgoing governor to approve a living wage for workers. And the second issue has to do with whether the present government has done enough or not.
No. The first question wasn't about whether it was right.
No, he said
No. The first question was about whether it was political in nature for the outgoing governor to have increased the salaries of workers when he knows that he will not be there to continue to implement it, just to create problems for his successor.
Well, I won't accept that. When that government was coming in also, the outgoing governor, when he was coming in, when his government was coming in, the one that was going equally approved the salary package for us. The issue is this: when in an election year, you negotiate. Every interest group will come in and negotiate with you, and you tell them what you can do. You earn whatever you want to earn. Let me say this: even before the new governor, the current governor came in, he met with workers and he promised us 22,000 naira minimum wage. I was at that meeting. He promised us 22,000 naira minimum wage, confirmed from government officials, confirmed from anybody in the state. Unfortunately for us, most of the people that are in government today, outside the governor, most of them were not at that meeting. But that's something to be corrected. That is one. Two, everybody knows that the minimum wage law was signed into law, was actually signed by President Goodluck Jonathan in March, April 2011. And there was no way anybody except Lagos said that had an approval before the president signed. No other state had negotiated. All other states negotiated, concluded their negotiation after elections. That is one. Two, you are saying somebody took somebody from 10 to 19. Let me first correct an impression. There is nobody on grade level 01, step 1. There is nobody. In fact, in Oyo State, it is illegal to appoint anybody on grade level 01, which means it's a farce. That's grade level 01. Anything you put there is a farce because you are not going to pay it. Secondly, he did not meet us on 10,000 naira. He met us on 18. And the highest paid, which he said he has increased, which he said the government has increased to 130 now, it was 300-something thousand naira. Because what we will be insisting on was the agreement we signed with the last government. And mind you, whatever projects that was started, whatever project that was commissioned by that governor, even after he had lost election, remained the state government, the state projects. Whatever agreement he entered into, whenever you get into government, you inherit assets and liabilities. Fortunately for us, workers are assets. And lastly, let me say this. There are 6 states in the southwest. 6. We earn, only 2 states earn more than Oyo State. Lagos and Ondo. You can check the table, the allocation table and everything. Ogun pays 300-something thousand naira to level 17. Ogun State here pays 300-something thousand naira to Gel 17. As at the time the last government signed an agreement with us, the agreement took us to 300-something thousand naira also. Now this one has brought us back to 130. As somebody will tell me, has done us a favor. It's not a favor, and I deserve to be paid.
Have you met with the governor or the commissioners in charge?
To be fair to His Excellency, he has met us severally, and we have told him all this.
And what did he say to you?
He said he could not afford to pay.
He said they've shown you the books and that they can't pay this money.
You see, the major genesis of this crisis now, why workers are saying no now, has to do with the fact that government made a mistake in not saying the whole truth.
How do you mean? 2
things. One, government told us that the last time it got crude oil, we are not saying you should use crude oil to pay salary. No, nobody will say that because it's not consistent, it's not regular. But government met workers and said the last time it got crude oil was December 2011. Unfortunately, even without the leaders' knowledge, workers went to the internet to confirm that and saw that crude oil allocation was given to the state in February this year. That made it a lie. So they don't even trust us, workers. They felt we are too pro-government. 2, government said it has 38,000 workers. Unfortunately, in February this year, between December and February, government carried out personnel audits and biometric verification of workers, and the entire thing was 25,000. For secondary school teachers, 14,341, and for civil servants, core civil servants, 11,065. So workers are now telling us that if somebody told you he received an amount last in December, and there is evidence from Federal Ministry of Finance on the internet, which you can confirm also, that it actually got it in February, and that basically tells you his workforce is 38,000, and that same government carried out an audit exercise and it's around 26,000. No, there are bases to doubt government.
Yeah, but have you confronted the government with these new facts that the workers have discovered?
Yes, we've done that.
And what did the government say?
The government does not believe us.
If on the same, because we've seen the visuals of when the last time that union leaders had to address their fellow workers and how stones were being thrown at them because they did not believe them. Yes. You know, they almost felt that they were working for the government. Yes. If union representatives have been able to look at the books with government, you know, to say what exactly is the problem and confronted them with it, how come it's so difficult for them to convince their fellow workers?
The issue is this. Government gave us some facts, in quotes now, and figures. And government said it will not want to retrench. Of course, no sane labor leader will sign an agreement that will say you have overbloated workforce, retrench them. We will never do that. And we said, well, we will not agree with you. As at that time, we could not be going from office to office to search for files because opponents might come in and be getting confidential information. We didn't want to do that. But when the Excellency challenged us, and that was why we went back to workers, and we told them that government said it could not afford to pay. We were stunned. They felt we were pro-government. And went back to government to tell government. We now advise government to meet workers. So when His Excellency met workers, he threw a challenge that today's world is a global market. Go to the internet and search. People search and they come up with all these things I've given you. And I saw them also. I've seen them also. So what we're saying in essence is somebody somewhere is trying to deceive His Excellency that the workforce is 38,000. Somebody somewhere is trying to deceive His Excellency that the new wage bill will cost 4.1 billion. We doubt that. I am doubting that also.
What figures do you have then if you doubt it?
Well, I'm doubting it because as at May last year, when the last government increased the salary by between 200 and 300%, as at that time, this current government met us in June. I have all the papers here. They give us some papers. And the papers said that, some of the papers said that it will take 4.4 billion for government to pay that salary. 4.4 billion for government to pay that salary. That was what the current governor told us. He gave us printed papers. And we empathized as citizens of the state. Now that they are paying us something that is around a third, less than half.
How much is that?
Of what we're now. I'm talking of individual. I'm not talking of net. Don't forget that I said nobody's on jail 1. And when you give somebody on jail 1 19, and you now add 2,000.
Is there a division in your rank?
No division. Initially, there was a division because we told them that government said it could not afford it, and we said.
Because at the point in time, some of the workers actually disowned the leadership of the union.
That was when we told them, and they said no, we are not representing them well. They said we are not representing them well. We felt that government was giving us facts and figures, real facts. As at that time, we did not go to the internet to search. We didn't. We did not. We negotiated with government based on evidence that we had, without going to the internet to search whatever was coming from Federal Ministry of Finance. These things were put there by Federal Ministry of Finance. And in the newspapers, you find them there also. So what I'm saying in essence is that if government was using 4.4 billion to pay salary, and that salary was reduced by half, and government insists it was going to use 4.1 billion to pay it, that means something somewhere.
What do you mean it was reduced by half? Half of the members of staff have left?
No, the salary. I told that in May last year, we had an agreement, and when this new government came in, the new government told us that it was going to spend 4.4 billion to pay that salary. And that salary, just 17 will earn 350,000 naira, over 300,000 naira. Now they are 17 will earn less than 150,000 naira. So that means it has been reduced by half.
Is it only that's how many people are on level 17? It's only level 17. What about the other levels?
Yes, other grade levels were equally reduced like that. Other grade levels were reduced by half.
So from your figures,
yes,
how much would government use in paying if they were to pay this minimum wage?
We have not been able to calculate that because there are disputing figures on the total number of workers.
But I mean, you should be able to do that, because when you go for your meetings with them, you should be able to have your facts and figures.
What we should be able to discuss with government is that, one, these are the monies you earn. Two, you say you are paying 38,000 workers. From what you did in February, between December and February this year, we are saying it is 26,000 workers. Go back and work out the ratio. Go back and work out the ratio and let us know what you are going to use to pay. So that is what we are doing with government now.
Because the last time we spoke to the national leadership of your body, the NLC, we are made to understand that they actually do the workings themselves, do all the calculations, so that when they go for such meetings and deliberations with the government officials, they should be able to put their demands properly in figures. But again, the way it is now, there's a new law in place in your state, a rule: no work, no pay. You chuckle on that. So how are you taking that?
Let's see how it works out. You see, an average government is an oppressor. An average government, an average person in government is an oppressor. You say you are going to introduce the...
Is any of your members being oppressed?
With the salary. Look, if a director will earn less than 140,000 naira, less than 130,000 naira, all of us are Nigerians. Do you think that is enough to take him home and take him back to the office the next day, to pay his rent, to send his children to school, to meet other family commitments? Are we not African? What are we saying? And this same government has over bloated political functionaries.
How?
Almost 200 political functionaries, more than 100 essays and commissioners. I said, what's anybody telling us? And this, even during the strike, government announced appointment of other 28 political office holders. So if you are telling me to tighten my belt, and you are busy readjusting your own trousers to make it bigger, you are busy adjusting your belt to make it bigger, you are busy adjusting your coat to make it bigger, and you are telling me that works to create this wealth. Politicians are just policymakers to guide us. We create the wealth. But let me tell you this: every local government in the state has 12 caretaker committee members. At the same time, every ward has a special advisor for the chairman. What are they doing?
You know what I find very interesting? You say that workers create the wealth, and as such, it deserves to be paid from it. But at the same time, you also made reference to the fact that, you know, they had gotten some money from the excess crude account last in February, and that the state government wasn't totally being honest about its finances. You said that you don't expect them to pay you from that excess crude account, but you're also taking it into consideration as part of the monies that accrues to the state government and should make it buoyant enough to pay your salaries. Can you honestly say that what you do in the state can make enough money for the government to pay you from what you earn?
Thank you very much. We are not saying they should make crude oil allocation to pay salary. We are saying that they've been economical with the truth in two instances. In the area of telling us without asking them, telling all workers, not leaders now, all workers at an interactive session, that the last time you earned from crude oil was December, whereas you earned in February, which makes people to doubt you. Two, that you had 38,000 workforce. Whereas even from your own record, as at February, it was 26,000.
February this year.
This year.
Meanwhile, these negotiations have been on since before this year, right?
We met the His Excellency this is Friday, right? We met His Excellency Monday this week.
Did you confront him with the fact?
So that was when he told us 38,000 on Monday this week, and he challenged us. Go and reconfirm. And you know, all these records will be kept by workers. So what I'm saying is we are not asking you to pay us with the crude oil. We are saying that if you could lie in those two areas, then how do you expect us to believe other things we are saying? Totally. We are saying that. Are you telling me that Oyo is poorer than Ogun? Are you telling me that? And you want to equate yourself with Osun and Ekiti? On the allocation table, Oyo is number 15. Osho is number 31. Ekiti is number 35. Ogun is number 28. And everybody knows that Oyo is bigger. Oyo has more resources than Ogun. I'm not talking, you know, I've not mentioned Lagos. Lagos is the father of Nigeria when it comes to economic factors. But we're saying that there is power in the spoken word.
How much are they offering to pay you now, the government?
We should not talk about the minimum. Because when you talk about the minimum, nobody earns it. What government is offering to pay us now is less than half of what we earned for the month of May.
How much is it?
It varies. Some people will get 70.
No, we're talking about the minimum and the maximum.
The maximum is around 140,000 naira maximum.
And if they were to implement,
the maximum is over 300,000 naira.
So what you're saying is a perm sec now with NMO. Sorry, Chamberlain.
They are not part of us.
Okay.
That is the ridiculous thing.
That's not part of the maximum.
No. We are not negotiating for permanent secretaries. No, we are not. They were appointed, and government decides their salary. They don't belong to any union. We are not negotiating for them. We are not concerned about what PAMSEC earns, even though they earn over 400,000, and it's not even enough for them as far as I'm concerned. If their colleagues in federal are earning about over 1 million, and some say they are earning over 1 million, and are being paid 450, they should be able to fight for themselves, but they cannot do that.
But if your state choose to give you this monies you're asking for, and it turns out that the state goes broke at the end of the day and even goes bankrupt, what will be the fate of workers in Oyo State?
Has Ogun gone bankrupt? That's the question. Has Ogun gone bankrupt?
Well, you don't know the earning profile of Ogun State. What you're looking at is what they get from the Federal Account Allocation Committee. That's what you're looking at. You're not looking at the capacity of Ogun State to generate its own internal revenue.
We've gone beyond that. As at the time Ogun was negotiating, Ogun claimed to be earning less than 1 billion in internal revenue. That was what it claimed. Anyway,
what about Oyo?
I have not been able to claim that, to confirm that. Oyo told us his average was 1.1 billion. Oyo told us that's average. We're talking of average now. You know it cannot be consistent. The average 1.1 billion.
You must also take into cognizance the population of Oyo State.
Oyo has a vast population. But tell me, when our population becomes a disadvantage?
No, but if
Oyo has more human resources, Oyo has more resources, natural. Oyo has more ability to pay tax, to collect tax. But the problem is this: we pay tax, workers. Imagine it. In my state, somebody on my level and others, whatever you pay, in other state they pay half. And we're even fighting over tax. Before the government reviewed the tax downward, the state insisted that tax law was a federal law and that it must be implemented. Now that has been reviewed downward, he said that if we reduce the tax, something will happen. The federal government has changed the tax law now to favor workers as part of the palliatives for all this thing they are doing. But the state implemented the federal tax law. By that is, we are paying over 300% over what others pay. We paid that. We are now saying, now that the federal government has reviewed that one, you said the other time it was a law. This is a law that the federal government has changed in the last 6 months. Why don't you do it? They have not done
when
that.
I raised the issue of population, I wasn't looking at it in terms of it being a disadvantage. I was looking at infrastructure, providing infrastructure over a vast expanse of area.
You should look at it that if you have a large population that you must take care of, you should be able to generate tax from them. In Britain, the highest revenue comes from tax. And let me tell you this: in Oyo, the least worker that pays tax pays around 1,000 naira. I'm not coming. For us, the rich man on the street pays less than 120 naira per tax. We are saying these are your people.
A quick one here, comrade. Let's do a quick one. Let's do a quick one before you leave. Now, the caretaker committee chairman, Mr. Akonde. You know him?
Yes, they do.
Why was he arrested?
He wasn't a caretaker committee chairman. He was a coordinating chairman, more or less a coordinator
of the workers of your union.
Of all workers. You see, we have 3 groups now. We have the NLC, we have the TUC, we have the GNC. The GNC actually negotiates for public servants. NLC only moderates, and TUC only moderates whenever there are crises.
So who does government negotiate with?
The Joint Negotiating Council. But we go there with them to moderate.
Because the NLC in Oyo State, we're asking, yes, good. He was arrested?
He was arrested by the police. And we went to the police. The labor in the state went to the police. And I'm
sure you are aware after his release, he apologized to the governor and he did say, well, well, that the union, the workers, did not have enough facts on the new minimum wage table before embarking on the strike. He apologized to the governor.
Well, I think Akade should be asked that question. But we went to the police with the Speaker of the House of Assembly to get his bail, to secure his bail. Madam Speaker followed us. We went there, the police did not listen to us. We didn't want crisis because by then, workers were prepared to go on the street. We went there with Madam Speaker. And when we got there, Madam Speaker told the Commissioner of Police that she had the mandate of the governor to secure his release, and we got his release. But whether he apologized or not, I don't know. And I don't want to be involved.
Yeah, but
one thing is that he was arrested.
Why did the government say that the strike is illegal?
Government thought that labor leaders had not come into the strike. You know, I told you that workers on their own volition, a week earlier before we came in, decided not to go to their various offices. But a week later, we had a meeting with them and they told us, we are your principals and must do our mandate. Now, the strike action is legal because we formally wrote government. Now, we gave them 7-day ultimatum. When it lapsed, we went on strike. So for now, the strike is legal.
So what will they offer to let you call off the strike?
3 things. 1, put in place a formal negotiating team.
On the part of government?
Yes, on the part of government.
They don't have it all this while?
They've been negotiating with us, but it's not formal. It's not formal in the sense that at times some people will come, at times others will come. That was the time the other service set up a technical committee of workers and government. When that committee brought its report, the political office holders were at the next meeting. They said no, the other service had no mandate to set up that committee. That's the first thing. Put up a formal negotiating committee that whatever decision that committee takes will be binding on both sides. 2, review our salary upward to be commensurate with our peers. Don't say you are poor, because there is power on your tongue. If you say you are poor, you continue to be poor for life. I am rich because I believe my God is all encompassing. 3, obey the federal tax law, which you have been obeying all along. Don't play double standard when it comes to law. Once you do those 3 things, I assure you, all state workers. And let me say this: we love our governor. We brought him in. We love our governor. He's widely traveled. He's widely experienced. He's highly intellectual. We love him. So if he can do all this, he should see us as his children, as his partners. Do these 3 things, and I assure you, the next all workers in the state will go back to their various offices.